Letsplay Victus! Photosensitivity warning. Remastered!
Given the choice, whether to rule a corrupt and failing empire, or to challenge the fates for another throw, a better throw against one's destiny, what was a king to do? But does one ever truly have a choice? One can only match, move by move, the machinations of fate, and thus defy the tyrannous stars.
History of Nosgoth. In the centuries before Kain's birth, the land was protected by an oligarchy of sorcerers known as the Circle of Nine. These guardians were sworn to serve and protect the Pillars of Nosgoth, the ancient edifice towering over the earth as a manifestation of the mysterious power that preserved and gave life to the land. But the Circle was infiltrated by dark forces, and Ariel, who gave terrible directions, the Balance Guardian, was cruelly murdered. Guardian of bad maps.
Couldn't balance a compass to save her life.
Her assassination sent psychic shockwaves throughout the Circle, and in their derangement, the remaining sorcerers turned their powers to dark purposes. Except for Mortanius, ironically. Poisoning the land with their sorcery and abandoning the pillars to stand like silent, decaying sentries. Into this dying world, Kain was born. Look at that handsome devil. The son of an aristocratic Nosgoth family, he lived the privileged life of a nobleman, never realizing his undiscovered destiny, that he was marked from birth as Ariel's successor, fated to take her place as the guardian of balance. Ignorant of his destiny, the ambitious but directionless Kain roamed the land. Oh wow, that's, yeah. During one fateful journey, he was ambushed by brigands and murdered, cruelly impaled on his assassin's sword. Plucked from the brink of oblivion by the necromancer Mortanius, Kain awakened in the underworld, still transfixed by his enemy's blade. I just realized that the sword that you start with in Legacy of Kain Blood Omen is the sword that killed you.
Yeah.
That's hardcore.
It is.
Tormented by his hunger for vengeance and blood, and heedless of the spiritual cost, Kain recklessly accepted the necromancer's offer of revenge, and rose from his tomb to discover that he had been resurrected as a vampire. Which, by the way, how pissed off do you think the Hilden were when Mortanius did that?
Furious!
Dude, they're like, we finally got rid of the Balance Guardian. We're totally got... What is he still doing here?
How did he get back here? What the hell?
Kain quickly tracked down his assassins and exacted his bloody revenge. With his vengeance and hunger sated, he sought only a cure for the vampiric curse that afflicted him. Guarded by Mortanius and the Spectre Ariel, now bound helplessly to the decaying pillars she once served, unable to give bad directions as completely as before, Kain hunted down each of the corrupt sorcerers now poisoning Nosgoth.
That stupid druid.
Oh, God. God, I had forgotten about that. Jesus. Only with their deaths could the pillars be healed, and only by restoring balance would Kain be released from his vampiric curse. At first reluctant to live the horror of an existence blighted by a thirst for human blood, Kain soon adapted and discovered within his darkened soul a growing disaffection for humankind, as he embraced his newfound immortality. That is Vordor versus Malekith.
I think, yeah.
Wait, not Malekith. What the fuck was his name?
I can't think of it.
Malak.
Malak?
Yeah. Malak. Because it's the name that they're screaming in the opening of Blood Omen 1.
Yeah.
Malak! as Vordor is just slaughtering people left and right.
Yeah, as he does.
Yeah. Okay. During his journey, Kain discovered and claimed the Soul Reaver, an ancient soul-devouring blade. Interesting. So I guess he found it in the time chamber?
I guess that's what they probably... Because we found it just kind of in a random chest in the original game. I guess they kind of retconned it to make it cooler.
I mean, it was there. It was named the Soul Reaver.
Yeah.
And it was badass.
I think they more meaning the retconned where he got it.
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe. I haven't seen Blood Omen 1 in a long time.
It's been a while.
It's been a very long time. The main thing I remember from Blood Omen 1 was like all the weird extra abilities he had.
Yeah, that was so cool.
And just
if only
that
they had kept
fucking
those.
druid.
Fucking druid, man. Oh, that was bad. And stumbled across, not so coincidentally, a time streaming device created by Mobius, the guardian of time. Against the counsel of the ancient vampire Vordor, Kain found himself embroiled in human events. Vordor was completely right. Caught in a bloody battle between Atmar's army of hope and the ruthlessly advancing armies of the Nemesis from the north. As the tide of the battle turned, Kain used his only means of escape, the time-streaming device, which swept him nearly 50 years back into Nosgoth's past. Hoping to alter the course of Nosgoth's history, Kain assassinated the young King William the Just, who would become the diabolic tyrant known as the Nemesis. After sating himself on his victim, that's the part that gets me. Like, okay, you took out the bad guy, cool, but then you stopped to snack.
Yeah, you had to get. Yeah, I'm not just gonna leave this corpse to just to waste. That would be a terrible use of a body.
Of course,
you got to use the whole pig.
Long pig.
Exactly, you got to use the whole long pig.
Yes. He returned to the present only to discover that his murder of the beloved king had ignited a genocidal war against vampires, led by the time streamer Mobius himself. Ouch. Upon his return, Kain witnessed the future that he had wrought, and the final triumphant act of Mobius's cold-blooded mob. Vordor, the last of the era's vampires, was guillotined, and his head held aloft for a cheering, bloodthirsty crowd, leaving Kain the sole surviving vampire in Nosgoth. She did not look that good. As his quest brought him full circle, Kain confronted the destiny that Mortanius and Ariel had hidden from him. That he was the Balance Guardian, and that only by sacrificing himself could he restore the pillars. Yeah. Game 1, Blood Omen, Kain gets played. After that, he's like, fuck you. Ariel presented him with a final climactic decision: sacrifice himself to heal the land but ensure the extinction of the vampires, or refuse the sacrifice and seal the world's corruption. I'm talking differently now. Revolted by the machinations of the human sorcerers and alienated from his former humanity, Kain chose the latter path, opting to rule the world in its damnation rather than commit himself to oblivion. This apocalyptic act completed the Pillar's destruction. The mighty columns toppled as Kain sealed their ruinous fate, and damned Ariel to ceaselessly haunt the dilapidated pillars she once served. You ever think, because he was king for a good, 2,000-3,000 years?
Yeah.
You ever think sometimes he would just taunt her?
I mean, considering I think isn't it the first, like not Blood Omen, the first Soul Reaver, isn't at the beginning of the game, he's like sitting on his throne near the pillars or whatever? I can imagine just the entire time Ariel's like, you should end this now. No. Just the entire time, just that back and forth.
She's like, why have you trapped me? He's like, Ve Victus.
Just the entire time.
Until the balance is restored, she can never be released. Kain concluded with the epiphany that Vordor was right. Yet, that vampirism is not a curse, but a blessing. Well, in its current form, absolutely a curse.
Yeah.
That vampires are dark gods whose duty it is to thin the human herd. Not really. With intentional irony, Kain established the ruined pillars as a symbolic seat of his new empire, and the unrestored balance pillar as the base of his throne.
Yep.
Damn. Are they not going to mention BO2? In an act of calculated blasphemy, Kain raided the ancient tomb of the Seraphan, a fanatical order of warrior priests, once sworn to eradicate the vampires plaguing Nosgoth. From the desiccated corpses of these long-dead knights, Kain raised his 6 vampiric sons to become the lieutenants of his fledgling empire. But the pillars, Kain ultimately realized, were more than just a human edifice. The health of the pillars was tied inextricably into the health of the land. With the pillars left unrestored, corruption seeped slowly into the land like a poison, turning his empire into an irredeemable wasteland. I really want to know, I want them to put that puzzle piece in of
Where Blood Omen 2
what
goes.
happened between Blood Omen 1, where every vampire was dead, and Blood Omen 2, where other vampires were still there.
Yeah.
And also, the fuck happened to the other vampires after BO2? Or is BO2 an alternate timeline?
Maybe. They could do that realistically.
Yeah, in Soul Reaver, there really aren't any vampires except the 6 bloodlines from Kain's sons. They might have just deleted BO2 from canon, which if they did...
I wouldn't complain too much.
I would a little bit, just because Uma was awesome.
I mean, they could probably take Uma and put her in something else.
Yeah,
I don't think it would be that hard to import her in elsewhere.
Yeah. Rather than evolving slowly over time, vampires experience periods of accelerated metamorphosis, entering dormant states from which they emerge transformed.
I will say, before we get too far, while we're doing this, I've been loving all this new art they've made for this history of Nosgoth images.
Absolutely.
These have been really fantastic.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Anyways, back to the recap.
When Raziel, first among Kain's lieutenants, revealed his latest evolution, a pair of bat-like wings, Kain responded with an act of seemingly egotistical sadism. Tearing Raziel's newly fledged wings from his back, he ordered Raziel to be cast into the Lake of the Dead, where he would burn forever in the roiling abyss. Raziel tumbled endlessly into the murky depths, his flesh dissolving as he burned with white-hot fire. After an eternity of torment, Raziel's ruined body came to rest, and as the pain receded, he realized he was a bitch. He realized that he had not only survived the descent...
I mean, is he wrong for being mad here?
No, but had been delivered to the very seat of the underworld. Like Kain before him, Raziel was saved from the brink of oblivion by a mysterious benefactor. A preternaturally ancient god dwelling in the depths of the abyss, who transformed Raziel into a devourer of souls. Did he, though? Did he fucking do anything? I'm thinking the answer's no.
It'd be funny if the answer's no.
Yeah, I think that he didn't do shit. I think that nothing that came out of the Elder God's mouth was true. Or orifice, whatever. I don't know.
However it does noises.
Yeah. Transform
It just speaks
Raziel,
directly into your
devour
head.
souls, released him back into the world, take his revenge. That's a badass picture.
Oh, yeah, I
Raziel,
like that.
now the other god's fledgling angel of death, resurfaced to discover that centuries had inexplicably passed since his execution. Kain's empire lay in ruin, and Raziel found himself assailed by the degenerate offspring of his former brethren, who had long since devolved into monstrous forms. Raziel was pretty monstrous himself.
Yeah.
Undeterred by these revelations, Raziel pursued Kain across Nosgoth's blasted landscape, galvanized by a hunger for revenge and a relentless new thirst. Not for the blood of humans, but for the vampire's apostate souls. Kain, however, had other plans for Raziel. Seemingly unsurprised by Raziel's miraculous return, Kain baited Raziel along the course of his single-minded vendetta, channeling him into battle with his mutated brethren, and into a fateful confrontation at the Pillars, wherein Kain raised the Soul Reaver against Raziel. The ancient blade, believed to be indestructible, shattered when Kain attempted to strike Raziel down. Except he didn't. Hey, look, an accurate representation of Ariel.
Yep.
Giving bad directions. The soul-devouring sentience captive in the blade was thus released, and binding itself to Raziel as a wraith blade became his symbiotic weapon. Kain seemed not stunned, but strangely satisfied with the shocking outcome. Wow, that's a really cool picture. Oh, that's one of Terrell's children.
Yeah.
Huh.
Oh god, the fish. I think it was Terrell's fish.
No. That was Radagast?
Yeah, it started with an R. Raphael?
Ratatouille? Lured Raziel further into Nosgoth's northern waste, leading to their final confrontation in Mobius's long-abandoned chronoplast chamber. That's an awesome picture. Driven by the fatalistic visions revealed by Mobius devices, Kain activated the time-streaming portal that would propel him and Raziel centuries into Nosgoth's past. Free will, Kain feared, might only be an illusion, but he knew their fates were intertwined in ways that Raziel had not begun to fathom. Swept back into Nosgoth's early history, Raziel began to unearth the secrets of his past. How his coming was foretold by an ancient race, Nosgoth's original vampires, who forged the Reaver for their champion, as the weapon of their salvation. How he himself slaughtered the Seraphan lieutenants, and was his own murderer, and how he thus became the catalyst not only of Kain's future empire, but of his own dark destiny. And finally, how he was fated to become the ravenous spirit imprisoned in the Soul Reaver blade. That this was, and always had been, the hellish cycle of his destiny. The Wraithblade, he finally understood, was his own soul, twinned and bound eternally to him. Which is why he can change, why he has genuine free will.
Yeah.
Because he's got the Wraithblade, which is him, and then he's got him, which is him. His motive's still a mystery. Kain sought to change history by preventing the blade from consuming Raziel's soul. But Raziel, nearly obliterated by the Reaver, realized that he could never escape this terrible destiny. Kain had merely postponed it. Which again, wrong, jackass.